What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, Finally, a reason to use my psych degree. With your favorite college graduate, Caitlin, with this week's episode, Nonverbal Communication, how not speaking can speak volumes. Hi, hello you guys. I hope you are doing so well today. So this week we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics in psychology, and that's the study of communication. So I'm someone who is very expressive. I talk with my hands and I use my face in a lot of how I talk to people. However, not everyone is as easy to read. Today I want to focus on the face and some tips to understand what someone is trying to say to you without having to say anything at all. Some facial expressions are universal, with a frown meaning upset or unpleasantness and a smile meaning happiness. And I assume you all can pick up on these tips. And research has found it's not something we can control. It stems all the way down to biology. A study published in the Journal of Psychology and Social Psychology found this to be true. In 2004, researchers went to the Olympics to capture that moment on camera when athletes found out if they won or lost their match. And in the same year, they went to the Paralympics, where they captured that exact moment that blind athletes figured out if they won or lost their match. Then they compared the two photos. Now, it's important to note that most of the athletes were born blind, meaning that there's no way that they could have learned their facial expressions from seeing somebody else do them. It was just what their face naturally did when they felt that feeling. Now, keep that in mind when they compare these two photos. Researchers found that after comparing the two athletes' types of photos on winning and losing facial expressions, they were almost identical, with a correlation of roughly 0.9. And this was able to prove that a facial expression is a muscle movement from our biology, and that it's something we feel, not necessarily learn. So for the most part, it's down to the biology of what our faces react to when we feel a certain way. Now, there can be some cultural differences, but it comes down to context and what the situation is that brings out those emotions in the culture. For example, gestures can be different in each culture, such as a speech illustrator. That's somebody who's verbal and talks with their hands. I do this all the time. And in some cultures, it differs from the amount that you do it and the form that you do it in. Another one is an emblem. This is culturally specific. It refers to certain words or phrases. However, some gestures are becoming universally known, such as a thumbs up, meaning good job or okay. And this is primarily because of the explosion of mass media in recent years. However, sometimes people don't want you to know what they really feel and conceal their true emotions. People inherently will give off something called a micro-expression. These microaggressions are a small cue into what people are actually feeling, even if they try to cover it up. They last for only a short moment and can be hard to see and even recognize. It's a result from a conscious or unconscious emotional response that just occurs spontaneously, which allows you to get the actual result of what someone might be feeling, even if they don't want you to truly know. I mean, these reactions are quick and last for only about half of a second. And I feel it's important to learn this skill. There's many benefits, one of which is to increase your emotional awareness. Being able to spot when an emotion is concealed can help you understand what someone else is feeling sitting across from you and how you can better help them in that time. Another reason is to detect deception. This is more likely if someone is trying to lie to you. And it's important to know, even in everyday life, not just if you're interrogating someone, such as being a medical professional trying to ask people about their medical history, or just being in an interview and trying to understand if the person's really telling the truth on their resume. And with the right amount of training, you too can learn how to pick up on these. So let's go over the 7 main micro expressions. The 7 are surprise, fear, disgust, anger, happiness, sadness, and contempt. So let's go over the first one, surprised. These are all the signs of the quick reaction. Brows being raised and curved. The skin below the brow is stretched. You get horizontal lines across your forehead. Your eyelids are wide open, and you can see the whites on the top and bottom of the pupil. Your jaw normally drops, and teeth are parted, but there's no real tension. And surprise elongates the face more than any other micro expression. Next is fear. Your eyebrows are more likely to be raised and drawn together, usually into a flat line. There'll be wrinkles in your forehead or in the center of your brow, but not across. Your upper eyelid is usually raised, and the lower eyelid is tense. The upper white part of your eye is showing, but the bottom isn't. Mouths can be sometimes open, slightly tense, or stretched down and up, or stretched down and back. Our next one is disgust. Both the upper and lower lip are raised, nose wrinkles, your cheeks get raised, and lines show below your lower eyelid. So the same face you would make if you smelled something really bad. Our next one is anger. Our brows are lowered and drawn together, and those vertical lines appear right in the middle. Our lower lid is tense, our eyes stare or bulge. Lips can be pressed together or in a squared down shape. Nostrils can dilate, and your lower jaw juts out. Then we have happiness. The corners of our lips draw back and up. The mouth can be parted or not. It's usually based on how you smile. The wrinkle runs from the outer lip towards up that eye. Our cheeks are raised. Your lower lid may show and be a little tense, and that crow's feet that everybody hates appears. So take a look at these two photos. Which one do you think is someone truly happy or faking happiness? Yeah, definitely. You can see, even just by those crow's feet, their squinting of the eye isn't happening, and the smile comes off less genuine. See, you guys are picking it up already. Next, we have sadness. The inner corners of the eyebrows are drawn up and in. The skin below the eyebrow triangulates. Corners of the lips are drawn down. The jaw comes up, and the lower lip puts out. This is the hardest micro expression to fake. And lastly, contempt. This is the simplest one. One side of the mouth raising. Also known as the smirk. It's ultimately a negative facial expression as a signal of hatred or disdain. You see this a lot in profile pictures. Go ahead, check your social media. I do this all the time. So now that you guys have some tips, go ahead and try this out. But remember, it takes a lot of practice. These glimpses into your facial expressions are really fast. However, once you notice a micro expression, you start to rethink everybody's real intentions. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Thanks for listening to my podcast. Finally, a reason to use my psych degree. Stay tuned next week to see if I can find another.